Welcome to Viking Spotlight, a podcast about people, events, and projects in the North Canton City School District. I'm your host, Jeff Wendorf. Today we're talking with Michelle Hostetler, the Director of Instruction at North Canton City Schools, about kindergarten and kindergarten readiness. Michelle brings 32 years of experience in education to North Canton City Schools. As a Director of Instruction, she's anxious to help students and staff continue to improve and achieve. During her career, Michelle served as a classroom teacher, title reading instructor, director of federal programs, literacy coach, gifted coordinator, and English learner coordinator, and a K-12 English language arts consultant. She worked as an elementary classroom teacher for 16 years, and she understands the needs of students as well as the importance of professional growth for teachers. Working as a language arts consultant for Stark County's Educational Service Center for 5 years, and most recently as Director of Instruction, Michelle's an extensive experience in providing the opportunity for educator growth at local, regional, and state levels. She enjoys actively listening to their concerns while discerning how she can best prepare them to achieve their goals. It's this desire to serve and to help others that brought Michelle to North Canton City Schools several years ago and serve as our Director of Instruction. Michelle, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you, Mr. Wendorf.
So we're going to chat here, just a very relaxed setting, informal conversation. But out of your 16 years in the classroom, you taught fourth grade for 6 years and kindergarten for 10. With those years in the classroom and your background and curriculum, you've had a solid background to talk about kindergarten, hence your invitation to talk with us today and share with our young parents about how their kids can be best prepared for kindergarten. Before we start talking about that and preparing kids for kindergarten, we should remind parents that if your child will be 5 years old on or before August 1st of this year, and you reside in North Canton City School District, you can proceed in the enrollment process beginning March 1st. If you're currently at the preschool, in our preschool at the Mary L. Evans Early Childhood Center, you don't need to do the enrollment process. Those folks are already enrolled. So once again, March 1st starts our kindergarten registration process, so watch for online opportunities for that. And please call or contact us and watch our website if you have any questions at all. So once again, kindergarten registration is completed online and won't start until March. So Michelle, you've had many years working with kindergarten, both in and out of the classroom. And how's kindergarten changed over your years in education?
Okay, hands down, my answer is the use of modern technology. And I'm not just referring to the technology that our students come prepared to use. We all know, don't give your cell phone to a toddler. It's the easiest way to get locked out of all your apps or lose important information on your phone. But not just the use of cell phones, but other devices. Our students come ready to use all kinds of electronic devices, but also our teacher use. Teacher use of electronic devices for measuring growth, for monitoring growth, and for daily implementation of instructions, unlike anything I had ever experienced in my first years as teacher. But the most important use, I'd say, of modern technology that has impacted our current use of technology in our kindergarten classrooms today is the scientific use. We know so much more about how the brain learns and develops, and then most importantly, how young brains learn how to read. And that is probably some information I know that I was not privy to in my early years of education. And I wish that I had that knowledge that I have now.
Yeah. Yeah, the things we remember back in our kindergarten days in little Stormont Elementary in New Concord, Ohio, and right. Mrs. Manahan, who I had for first grade, and my kids, who are nearly 30 now, don't believe me, but she did have blue hair. An elderly woman, a beautiful lady, and a great kindergarten. But the things you remember from your kindergarten days are last you a lifetime, and it's so important, and it's I guess to reiterate what you just said, it's much more scientific today than it was 30, 40, 50 years ago.
Absolutely.
And it's just a wonderful thing to see our staff embrace that and our kids thrive through that. So great. Well, thanks. So one thing that probably hasn't changed is the anxiety parents feel when they're shipping their kids off to kindergarten and getting them ready to go. Parents hope their child's prepared, and they want to make sure they have the best success they can and make sure they're prepared coming in the door. But you recently wrote a column for our district newsletter on that, and you said there are 4 areas that parents need to consider. Could you tell us about those 4 areas?
I would love to. The first area would be health and self-care routines. making sure that you have good, solid health and self-care routines in place for your child. First off, probably most importantly, having a good sleep habits. Our children should get between 9 to 12 hours of sleep a night so that they can be rested and the brain can be ready to experience all that school has to offer. During sleep, the brain sorts through and stores information, replaces chemicals, and even able to solve problems. So it's so important that our children have the opportunity to be able to do that at night. Too little sleep can also affect your child's growth and germ-fighting immune system, which keeps your child from getting sick. So the other piece of that would be also just to follow regular routines, mealtime routines, hygiene routines. And as we were just talking about how important sleep is, bedtime routines. And if your child has problems or struggles with getting enough sleep, regular bedtime routines can help, making sure that your child gets an opportunity to go to bed at similar times every day to the best of your ability, and even on the weekends, have some kind of routine in place. Such if you're having a hard time getting them to settle down, another really good routine to have in place is to have a calming bedtime routine, where maybe a soothing warm bath or reading before bedtime. That can be a typical routine for them. One other area with health and self-care would be being able to self-dress oneself, being able to navigate the use of zippers, shoelaces, snaps, and buttons. Even though we know they still may need help at times, we all do.
Sure. Yeah.
When it comes to some difficult buttons or snaps or zippers.
Yeah, it's kind of fun to go into kindergarten classrooms because you see the growth over a year, even a few months of some of those self-care dress issues, like you said, buttons, buckles, shoelaces, tying shoes, and so on. Not everybody masters those things at the same time, and others need help. But when you're a kindergarten teacher with maybe an 8 in the classroom, 20 or so, plus or minus a few, of difficult zippers or buttons on 25 kids at once when it's ready to either dismiss or go to playground or lunch, it's a challenge. So it's and of course we want our kids to be able to self-care and so on. So yeah, the other thing is the routine at home, and we all know what happens when we ourselves get out of routine or something happens where we don't get enough sleep. We know how we react, and that's important for helping our kids be in the best position for success.
Most certainly. The other area that we talk about are the gross and fine motor development, making sure our students have fine motor skills. The fine motor skills are the small muscles in your fingers and hands, making sure that they have plenty of opportunity to develop the dexterity and strength that they need. Those particular muscles help us to be able to grasp, hold, and pinch and grip, and having opportunities to help we just talked about the buttons, snaps, zippers. The fine motor control that you need to be able to do those things, practicing, giving them plenty of opportunities for practice with those type of items, drawing basic shapes, letters, colors, even drawing a simple person. And having opportunities to play with toys even strengthens their dexterity and the muscles in their hands. So when your child has plenty of opportunities to use and develop these fine motor skills, they can do more things independently, such as dress and feed oneself. The other is gross motor skills. These are your large muscle and your whole body movement that you need. And what is so important about those is the core strength. We all need the core stability. And this is fun. This is a fun piece. Get your child outside. Sure. Give them plenty of opportunities to run, skip, hop, jump, swing, scooters, swimming, all those wonderful things that help not only develop gross motor skills, but also hand-eye coordination that they need for maybe dribbling, bouncing balls, kicking. But gross motor skills lay the foundation for those fine motor skills we just spoke of. And they have an impact on our child's learning, academic learning.
Sure.
It's so important that we realize that our child's ability to cope with a full day of school requires them being able to sit upright at a desk, which that core stability is important to do that. Moving effortlessly between classes, up and down our steps, outside on our playground, being able to handle scissors, crayons, pencils productively, both involve those fine and gross motor skills that are so important to develop.
Get up and down bus steps, those kind of things, yeah.
Yeah, so children need lots of opportunities to practice that movement. That's how they learn and grow.
Right, yeah. Well, thank you. And then there was a couple others, I think social-emotional and cognitive development, if I could say that.
You can.
Yeah, so how about social-emotional? What's that mean?
Sure, social-emotional development. This is the ability for our students to be able, first of all, to be separated from their loved ones. Being able to be away from your loved ones without getting overly upset about it. So having opportunities and practice times for your students to spend some time with, or your child to spend time without you, and also playing with other children and making friends. and being able to handle conflict with other children while handling their emotions. And I'm going to share a personal experience that I have with my own 2 children. I have 2 sons. And I know when they were younger, oftentimes my boys would argue over a toy, and I wasn't present. So I didn't really know what happened. I didn't know who was in the right or who was in the wrong. But I knew that I wanted to make the right choice for my boys, and my boys needed to know how to handle that conflict themselves. I couldn't always solve it for them. So I take that toy and I put it up maybe on top of the refrigerator away from them, and I simply look at both of them and tell them, boys, make a plan. I don't need to hear the plan. I don't need to know the plan. But you decide for yourself what the plan is going to be for the use of this toy. And until you have a plan, the toy is not going to be available to you. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And I was always they'd come back and say, Mom, we have a plan. Do you agree, Landry? Yes, I agree with the plan. Austin, do you agree? Yes, I agree with the plan. Sure, here's the toy. I worried that my older son would take advantage of my younger at times. And one time I just happened to turn the corner when they're making their plan, and I heard my oldest going, okay, this is the plan. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do that, and then I get this. And I went, whoa, is Landry going to advocate for himself?
Yeah.
And I almost intervened. I came really close to intervening, and pretty soon Landry speaks up, that is not a plan. So then they had to rework the plan.
That's awesome.
But they taught
Neither
Landry,
one of them are attorneys, are they?
No.
Okay. All right.
Engineers.
Yes.
But Landry had to learn to advocate for himself. Both of them needed to handle conflict. And we can't always solve that for them. We need to give them opportunities to be able to solve those type of conflicts, and also, most importantly, advocate for themselves.
Right. There's a great set of life skills for everybody to know as adults. And if we can help our children understand how to recognize a problem, how to listen and maybe problem solve for a problem, and then implement a plan to rectify whatever that is. And whether it's an engineering problem or a disagreement or a social problem, those are great skills.
It's an important skill in
that's
today's
correct,
world.
Isn't it?
It absolutely is.
A big part of our core values is relationships. And how to deal with other people. And sometimes coming into kindergarten, you've not had a lot of relationship opportunities with folks outside your home, other than mom and dad or brother, sister. And so that's a great skill to be able to come into a classroom or even a bigger setting of a couple classrooms with 20 other kids your age, understanding there's some preschool and some other activities that you can get into, but 36 weeks of a school year and 5 days a week of kindergarten, that's a big change for some. So social interaction, relationships is a key piece. How about the final one? The biggie. This is what some parents are very, very concerned about, right?
Yes, absolutely. The cognitive development. We know that neurological development of the brain depends on words. And I can't say this enough. Talk to your children. Give them plenty of opportunities. It is so important. Story time, game times are full of opportunities to talk more with your child. Invite your child into conversations with you once you've played the game, or once you have read the story, or while you're reading the story. Respond to your child by modeling appropriate language. We know, our North Canton teachers, they have been trained in the latest research on the science behind how the brain best learns to read. Our teachers are trained and they're prepared to help your child attach letter symbols to those words that your child enters school already knowing. We also know that the more words your child enters school knowing, we know it's predictive of their ability to be able to read later. So the more words they enter school with, the better ability they're going to have to be able to attack reading skills later, and even throughout their kindergarten, first, second grade careers.
Right. And the best way to do that, and we all used to hear about the third grade reading guarantee and all that, but you refer to that, but that's a previous measure. But if we want kids to be successful early and later, we know that reading is a big part of that. The earlier, the better. And I'm reiterating what you just said. I think you just said is make sure kids have a great vocabulary, a great understanding, and not just that they know vocabulary words, but they can use them, they understand them, they've heard them, both in conversation. Not that kids should be involved in every adult conversation, no way, but that they're involved in conversation with others, and they have played games, they've had relationships, and they've been read to or read with or can read themselves. And not that that's a criteria to enter kindergarten in any way, but that is very, very important.
Jeff, I have this analogy I like to keep in mind. I imagine your child's brain is a piggy bank, and every word you say is another penny in that piggy bank. The more we talk, the richer
that's awesome.
the piggy bank becomes. Or the more you put in now, the richer your child will be later.
Right.
So keep putting those pennies in that piggy bank. It's really important. It will help develop those language skills right along with the other skills we've already talked about. We talked about advocating for oneself, making plans, being able to rationalize conflict with someone else. That develops their language skills as well.
Sure.
And encourage them to speak in complete sentences, communicate needs. When they need to communicate their needs with other people, use complete sentences and encourage and model for them how they can be able to do that. You talked a little about, when we talked about games and game time, perfect opportunity for mathematical thinking to occur.
Right.
Choose games, select games that are going to be able to give full opportunities to your child to use not only rich words, but also provide plenty of opportunities to develop mathematical skills such as counting 1 through 10. In any game board, you have to not only count forward,
when you
also
use die
backwards.
or dice. Yeah.
Counting backwards lays a foundation for subtraction later on. If you can't count backwards, you're not going to be able to subtract. So I know it's difficult, but it also develops social emotional skills. Those games like Chutes and Ladders or Candyland, where you have to go back so many spaces. I used to have to tell, we had a rule in our house, we'll play this game, but there's no crying involved.
That's great,
Well, anytime you play Chutes and Ladder with a 5-year-old and they have to go all the way back to the beginning, it's a great skill set for them to put into place.
It's a big social emotional piece too.
Absolutely.
How do you handle setbacks? How do you handle things that happen that you have no control over and you necessarily don't like? And that's a big part of the social emotional preparation for a young person.
Right. The game of the card game War. The game of War, it allows them to be able to count objects, sets, and not only are they counting objects or sets, they're also trying to determine who has more, who has less. Great mathematical thinking skills. Pick games that develop colors and simple basic shapes. They're out there. They're fun. You'll develop those rich vocabularies that you need along with the mathematical thinking and also your language skills. Yeah.
Fine motor skills of being able to hold cards for games simple as War or other names for it, but to know what card's higher than the other card, what card is more valuable than the other card and who gets it and so on. So some great pieces that connect to all of the development traits that you talk about here. So that's awesome. So anything else on the cognitive development? I mean, kids don't need to know their math tables and their ABCs and be able to write fluently. Parents are anything else for the 4 or 5 areas that we've talked about?
I guess most importantly, if we stated something that you're thinking, oh my gosh, my child is not able to do that, not to panic. Choose that one skill, maybe 2 skills, or just choose one at a time. Maybe your child can't count backwards right now. And Mrs. Hostetler just said, I need to count backwards. Mr. Wendorf just shared that I need to do more than and less than, and my child doesn't know that. Pick that one skill and look for games, look for opportunities, books that can help enrich that particular skill, and then move on to the next. Worry about one at a time. If there's still a great struggle, you can always reach out. Kindergarten teachers are going to be wonderful with giving you plenty of opportunities to develop that skill.
The point is to not have them mastered all of these things. It's to make sure they're well adjusted and able to be a little bit flexible. And the best things that we can do as parents, and I'll probably say this again, is read, have conversation, play, be physical as far as movement and so on. And they'll be great. They'll be great. Not every kid or every student is ready on the same day at the same time on Wednesday at 9 o'clock for class. Don't master it or they don't have it. We're all individuals and we master things at different times. So
and enjoy your child.
Yeah.
Enjoy them. Right. And if there's something they're struggling with and maybe it's not their time, you sat down and you wanted to have a little bit of time with them, game time or play time, and they weren't ready for it, just hug them. Just hold them.
Yeah.
Do it again another time.
Right. Yep. Anything we can do to help them be comfortable, confident, and well adjusted in the environments. That's awesome. Not to say that any of us, adults included, don't need help and reassurance and support and a hug now and then. But our kids do too. So awesome. One of the tools you shared in your article was Ready Rosie, and it's a kind of a learning website. Can you tell us more about Ready Rosie and how it works and how folks can access it?
Sure. It's readyrosie.com/register. And you can find that on our website. We're in their newsletter. If you need it and you cannot find it, you can contact the school, contact Administrative Center with Mr. Wendorf or Michelle Hostetler, and we'll get that for you. But we do have a password code, and it's our district code, and it's Viking with a capital V. Once you get onto that site and you log in, you'll be able to put your name, your email address, the age of your children, and they have something that's called modeled minutes that they'll send out to you. And in their modeled minutes, they're going to model different activities that you can do with your child to develop all the areas we just spoke of. They'll have examples of a child working with a parent, maybe just as they're buying groceries. What are some activities that we can do while we're in the grocery store? Mom may be doing the dishes, and the one I'm thinking of right now is a quick modeled minute where she's describing something in the pantry while she's doing the dishes, and the child has to grab that item. Then she asks the child to describe an item, and she has to find it. So she's developing that beautiful vocabulary that we talked about and using rich language with the child and extending, enriching that piggy banking.
Sure.
For that child.
Neat.
But they're available. They will send them out according to the age of your child and the need of your child at the time.
Sounds like I Spy to me in the pantry, right?
Absolutely.
Great development. Yep. Good. Well, so they log on to Ready Rosie, and it's not the only way. Certainly, it doesn't sound like like I said, the best way for your kids to be prepared for kindergarten. Love them, read, converse with them, have conversation and vocabulary, and let them play and be physical. But as far as Ready Rosie, how would they use it?
They have, you can get it on any device, whether it could be your cell phone or your laptop, any device that you choose and you select. Once they receive your information, if you download the app, they'll give you all the information you need to download the app to your phone, or you'll receive an email notification that there's a new modeled minute for you. You click on that modeled minute, the video pops up, you watch the video, and then you can respond with your child according to the suggestions provided in that particular modeled minute.
Very good. So they're resources. They're not really activities themselves. They're sharing with the parents essentially about how they can work on some of these skills we've talked about.
It'll be a parent with a child, and they're modeling.
Neat. Okay.
They'll model it for you.
Sure.
And you'll see the parent and the child, or maybe an entire family at dinner, modeling different activities that can be done to develop these essential skills.
That's great. Any other suggestions or comments, conversation surrounding kindergarten preparation?
No, just enjoy it. It goes by so quickly, so fast, as you know, with older children. I have a 29 and 26-year-old. I probably still need to make them make plans every now and then.
Yes.
But no, enjoy those moments, enjoy those times that go quickly.
Yeah, when your kids grow up, you don't relinquish all parent rights, right?
No.
But, and they still call, so
I know.
Still love them and they call. But
right.
They turn out fine. And, like I said, the best thing is to be their parent and read, talk with them, play games, let them be physical and active. It's the best things we can do to prepare our kids for kindergarten. So we thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it. And once again, if folks have any questions or anything, call the district office, contact us through our website or so on. There is a section on there for kindergarten registration beginning in March for folks. If you know of neighbors, friends that have kids that might not have a connection to the school district quite yet, please reach out to them and let them know that it's coming up for kindergarten registration. And you think, oh my gosh, register for kindergarten in March that doesn't start until August? Well, it's important for us to make sure we have the proper staff and planning and preparation supplies and all that for them. So we do it early, and of course it's open through August, but we want to try to get the most information we can to provide the best possible service for kindergarten. So we appreciate it. We thank our preschool staff and our new and our curriculum staff and everybody at our primary elementary buildings that run our kindergarten programs. And I think we do a great job and have a great service for our kids in North Canton. So
thank you.
Yeah. Well, thanks to our listeners for joining us today as we learned more about the district and our community. If you have any questions or comments about any of our podcasts, past, present, or future, please reach out to us at vikingspotlight@northcantonschools.org. That's our email, vikingspotlight@northcantonschools.org, for any suggestions, questions, comments. We'd be happy to talk about those. And we might have, there's a possibility, I'll go out on a limb here and say we might just have a open forum where we do a letter response on air one day. So let us know what you'd like to know more about, and we'll try to keep doing our podcast to make sure that we help folks understand more about our Viking community and our schools. So Thank you for listening today, and go Vikings.